Right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Don't Tell Mom podcast, the brother and sister duo where anything and everything goes. I'm Cullens and my sister Brittany. I'm stoked today. I'm like on another level.
Yes.
I've got lots of fun stuff to talk about. If y'all can't tell by the title and the thumbnail of this video, we have one of the icons of YouTube joining us today, Mr. Safety himself, SMP Films himself.
What's up, guys?
What's up?
All the things himself, Corey Williams.
One of the many names.
I
have a bit of an identity crisis when it comes to the internet. Like, what am I? Who am I? Like, I feel like so many people know me from all different places. And it's kind of funny, too, because, like, I can sort of judge people by where they know me from.
Right.
Because I've done so many different things.
You're a Miss Kitty, Mr. Kitty, or you're Mr. Safety, or that's how you know. That's how you know where they found you, huh? I love it.
Let's see. I'm seeing if I can get the audio in my ears here. I don't know. Maybe not. It's okay. Anyway, cool. Thank you so much for jumping on and joining us today. We have so many guests lined up, and last minute yesterday I was sitting there in church and I saw him comment on one of Katie's pics, and I was like, Corey! And it's so ironic. Corey is the name of her husband.
Yeah, and spelled the same.
I think 2 podcasts ago or something, you talked about how he loves watching Naked and Afraid.
Yes.
And this is another role that you played in this crucial internet world.
Yeah, you just told me about that. And I thought, for some reason, that it was just like your spin on that. And then Cullen was like, no, he was really in that show. And I was like, what? No, you were not.
Yeah, I did Naked and Afraid. Long story. Originally, the Discovery was going to put me into another show because they wanted to show how real their reality shows really are, and they are hardcore real. I mean, there's some stuff, man, it's insane. But originally they were going to put me in Deadliest Catch, and I was all for
so they
it.
could just get to pick and choose wherever they want to put you. That's where they're going to put you.
Yeah. And but I kind of feel like now Deadliest Catch was just their way to get me in, because I was living in Alaska at the time, and they're like, "You want to do Deadliest Catch? How about Naked and Afraid?" And I was like, okay. My wife talked me into it.
Direction. Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, let's back up before we get into all that real quick and talk about. I was just telling her before we started. I was like, this is so ironic and full circle, if you will, how this has all worked out, because my very first VidCon YouTube convention I went to back in 2012. What was it? 13, 12? I don't know. Something like that. It was like I had the Justin Bieber swoosh hair. I was all nervous standing in line, meeting all these creators. And I'd been watching your stuff creeping, just throughout the internet community, the YouTube community. And then I saw you walking in the courtyard or something. I was like, oh my God, there's Corey from SMP Films. Get a picture. And then like a couple years later, we ended up connecting, I think, at another convention or through the grapevine on Twitter and YouTube in general. And I think I sent you that pic. I was like, I like fanboyed over you one day, and here we are. Like, I was fanboying that day when we were texting about everything. But
and all your dreams have come true.
I know.
I said, well, how do you know? How did y'all meet? So.
Well, okay, but see, the thing is, it's like, I wouldn't say it was necessarily fanboying. You had a passion for something, and you were just. I think what it was is you were just appreciating the people that were already there, because those are the people that, like, you're trying. You don't necessarily want to be them, but you want to work in that world and be a part of that. And now you absolutely are. I mean, you are a big inspiration to a lot of other people as well. And so it's just great that you and I are on the same level, that we're just continuing to inspire people as we continue to be ourselves. So it's you were fanboying over just the idea of how beautiful YouTube and social media is. That's what it is.
It's
we
funny.
Just happen to be people in it.
It's funny, a lot of people, they go, okay, well, what is a content creator? Like, what do you mean by a creator or whatever? And I think you just said it, like somebody that has that passion and wants to be in that world and do that and just, make these amazing videos. Like I was watching your videos this morning,
oh my gosh.
And I was dying laughing. Like, it's just some of the funniest stuff, and it's so funny because one of them I was watching, which is it's just ridiculous. It's a boy video for sure, but it's you and Target, I believe, and you're like teaching people how to fart or something. And I was just thinking, like, I was watching that video seriously, like, this is so something Cullen would do.
How to fart in public. Yes, okay, but that was a joke. That video obviously was a joke. I was farting in Walmart and Target and all these different places. But also, like, for real, like if you really have to fart, these are the things I actually do. Like I'll go across the store if I can't hold it. If I find myself near a laundry detergent aisle, that is my place to fart.
Yeah,
you know, if I can't find a bathroom, it's so it's like my stuff has always been half comedy but also half real, you know, because then you think about it, and I mean,
you can totally relate to that for sure.
Right. I mean, I didn't go and fart in, you know, clothes. You know, that's awful. That's the terrible. But you know what I'm saying? It's kind of a little half and half with everything.
The creative mind behind everything is what I think drives me and you together. We have that common ground about how we can. Your production is so high quality on all the stuff you've done. What it's like. What was the one? What it's like with ADHD on SMP Films, and then you're like Mean Kitty. What's got 90 million views? I saw. I mean, it's like 12 years ago. I mean, it's still like that's insane. But I think it has a lot to do with the connection with the audience, and then the production value. Like your production value is top notch compared to a lot of other creators.
But what's funny is it's not even about production quality anymore. Do you know my biggest, most viewed video of all time is not the Mean Kitty song?
Really? No.
Right.
What
it's
is
not. It's a video that I made on my cell phone, and it's got 150 or 160 million views.
Whoa.
And it is again about my cat. But like, yeah.
That's crazy.
It surprises me, and I'm like, why that one? But apparently, like everyone in India thinks it's the greatest video. So, yeah, but no, it's it's more about not about quality, but about being relatable to the audience and giving them something to feel. I don't know. It's if you can touch a feeling, that's what matters.
I mean, I think humor is like number one. And you started out doing comedy sketches, right? Like that's what.
Oh yeah, that's my ground, man. That's I love that because comedy, you make people happy. You really touch that funny bone, and it just when you've made somebody's day better, that's great. But I'm also a lot of heart, so a lot of the things that I do is also to help to truly themselves a better version of who they are.
Right.
So
I love
I do a
that.
little bit of everything.
That kind of touches on something else I wanted to mention was when I really started watching you were playing video games and stuff back in the day, and then you started doing a documentary or documenting your daily process into becoming a pro wrestler or wanting to get into that field. And growing up I was a Hulkamaniac and like all the pro wrestling stuff, WWF.
I remember.
I threw a couple of stinger splashes on her and put her in the cross-faced chicken wing and I was doing all that stuff. So when you started doing this and like documenting your weight loss or your not necessarily weight loss, but getting in shape, your transformation, that's when I was like, I got invested in the story there.
Well, let me just stop you guys and say, for people that don't know who you are or whatever, why don't you give us like the backstory? Tell us like where you started and where you came from and where you are now and like how you got there. That might take that's like a lot, I think.
Okay, so let's get into the deep parts that maybe people don't know from where it really begins, the true parts of it.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
I kind of had a bit of a rough childhood. I'm not going to go too deep into what happened and all the different things, but I was a lost child for a long time, and just felt like I didn't need to be a part of this world. And all of a sudden something happened, and I saw that the world was much bigger than this world that I've been living in, this little tiny place. My grades were horrible, and I just had no way to go. And then I said, this is it. I'm going to go do something else, and I'm going to get bigger, and I'm going to take all of these negative emotions, all these things, and I'm going to explode with creativity and fun and make the world happy so that they don't have to feel the way I felt. And so my goal has been to get out there and find these children who were like me and give them hope and a way to let their brain escape so that they can eventually move on from whatever it was. So anyway, moving on, I had no exact way to go. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do with my life. And so, what? I said, I'm just going to make videos and I'm going to do something with them. This is before YouTube, before all these different places.
Give me a year. What year are we in right now?
This is probably 1998, 99,
Okay.
something like that. So 99, I was already starting to put out stuff, right? And so I was making videos and just selling them in smoke shops. I mean, to be frank, because they're the only places that people were actually open-minded enough to watch, because the Jackass thing had just been born and was beginning to become a craze, and people were looking for that sort of content. And so I was selling DVDs that I was burning at home. And then they were made from like VHS tapes, right? So anyway, I got big on Newgrounds.com by converting my DVD format stuff to Flash format, and then I got really big on MySpace. I was a top comedic music artist in the world for several months, because music was easier to post on the internet because people can listen, right?
Right.
Then YouTube came around in 2005, and within the first few months I signed up, and then boom, and then I'm actually the world's first professional YouTuber, so I'm the first person to do this full time for a living.
That's awesome.
And so,
we were reading about that.
Yeah, so I kind of just continue to do that and build, and now YouTube is something else. But yeah, that's kind of where it was. Is I was just trying to do something to help the world and to inspire. And that's kind of like, I have this tattoo here. You can see it. And the phoenix is, I live forever through the inspiration I give others throughout my life. And so it's a rebirth. Every single time I inspire somebody, I am reborn. My soul goes a piece to them, and they put my soul out to that. So when I'm dead, I continue. I flow.
I like that.
That's some deep shit right there. I love that.
I love that. So, I mean, it's awesome that it's great to be funny, but a lot of people, I think, can't be funny and inspirational at the same time. You know what I mean? Usually it goes the other way to more like vulgar or whatever, but to be inspirational and still be able to be funny, I mean, that's a feat in itself. So
and kind of touching on what you mentioned in the beginning, and kind of to relate with you is, I was the class clown. My grades were horrible, and I felt like being funny was the only way I could prove myself based on our childhood and just insecurities I had that I masked through comedy and through being the clown around the
I'm
campus.
just thinking, like you were saying, 1998, 1999, and I'm thinking, like, what are you recorded on? Because I'm thinking like the big, and we actually did. You had like that big camcorder, on the little VHS tapes,
little mini tapes that you put in, and
8mm,
That's how you got started. But it's so funny how that's become a thing, from like when we were kids. You said people were just looking for something to watch or to listen to. That's why the music got big. And it's because, we're just so hungry for entertainment and knowledge and all these things. So people are out there looking for it. And now these days you have videos everywhere. YouTube is the new TV, You got podcasts, you have music, you have all these different ways to fill yourself, with it. And I just love that y'all were just from the beginning, you already had that in your mind, like, I'm gonna do this. So it's something to be the first one, man. Congratulations.
That is crazy.
That's amazing.
Thanks. Yeah, but there was people already doing it. It was just the only thing that I did different was I came right at it with sponsors, because I was like, there's something here, and my sponsor believed in me, and that was it, man.
Yeah.
Now, do you have any brothers or sisters?
I have 2 half sisters and 2 step siblings.
Nice. We got one half sister. Yeah.
Do you did you grow up with them in your home? Like siblings in your home?
My step siblings, yes. I moved around a lot, so I was never in one home really. I mean, that's part of the toughness that was happening. I moved around a lot. And so, I never had a chance to really, dig my roots in to figure out what it was or where I was going. So I constantly had to shift and change and be different people for different places. And it was, awful, but also the gift. I mean, if those bad things didn't happen to me, I wouldn't be the man I am today.
Exactly.
And if I wasn't able to forgive all of the things that had happened in my past, don't forget, but forgive those things, then I wouldn't have been able to move on. So that's another thing that's important, is to not forget, but to help forgive yourself and the things that had happened.
It seems like you've definitely taken a mental step towards realizing you've done work on yourself. You can obviously hear it in your voice and the way you're saying the
a lot. Yeah. the vlogs, even the vlogs that you watched, you didn't know this, Cullen, but when I made those vlogs, I did that because I was suffering from severe depression, severe problems with myself, and I had lost myself in a point in my life where SMP Films was kicking butt, man, taking names. It was awesome. And then I let my life spiral out of control. And I didn't show the world that. And so what was happening was I was like, you know what? I'm going to vlog and I'm going to show myself what's going on and why am I having these problems. So I would watch myself on video every day to try to pinpoint what it was that I was doing wrong in each day. And I noticed that I was turning into a character because I was masking myself. And so I realized, I was like, that's what's happened. I have turned into a thing instead of a person, and so I needed to back it up a little bit, and that's why, like, I would cry every now and then in the vlogs talking about something that really hurt me or whatever, because it was also me talking to myself to get it out. See, now I look back at my vlogs and I go, wow, look at all those problems I have. But today I find myself not vlogging nearly as much as I used to, simply because I've found my happiness again. I found my life and who I'm supposed to be and what all these, I'm more real now to myself. And so it's hard to look back at my own vlogs and try to fix something because I feel I'm happy with what I have. It's interesting. The vlogs were for me first and then for the world second.
I think that's anybody that's done this long enough is kind of in the same path of trajectory when it gets to that certain point, and then you see it every day where there's channels that just some controversy comes out or something happens, and it'll destroy you if you're not particularly careful.
But it's got to take its toll, just kind of walking on eggshells all the time. Like, when are you going to be like, okay, I'm not going to do it this way for this reason or whatever, and just do you. Like you said last night, you were on you were doing a comedy show and you're doing stand up, and I mean, can you imagine that? That's just, you said you just let it all go. I mean, that was just everything.
Gosh.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So the other night, Saturday night, was my first night of real stand-up comedy. I was headlining at a club here in Tulsa, and I was, oh my gosh, I'll tell you, I was nervous. I was so nervous. I was in the back going, I think I got to go to the bathroom. I don't know, man. Am I going to be able to do this? My heart's going crazy. I was a wreck, man. But I was like, I know it. I wrote this set. It was my real life. Everything that I said was true about my life, and I was letting out everything that I've never said on YouTube for a couple reasons. One, the things I said, YouTube would not let you say because demonetized, right, and all whatever. But also just, public image. Like, I just said, no, I don't care about my public image anymore. I'm just going to say what I want to say, and I'm going to let it out and then let the crowd have it. And I killed it. I absolutely killed it. And I was like, wow, it was so cool. So I think I'm going to do it again. But man, I will say, like, when you find yourself in a really happy place, but you've been through a lot, it's so good to let it out. And to take what has been hurting you and made you feel bad for so long and give it to a crowd to make them feel good. It's something else. It is something else. But
I can imagine that was probably the biggest high, is to have everybody respond to you and love it, and be happy, and you're making them laugh. I love that.
Yeah. The crazy part about it, though, was like I had viewers were showing up. Viewers who watched the Mean Kitty. That watched my vlogs and all sorts of things. And I told them, look, you guys, this is unfiltered. You are going to learn things about me that you're like. I'll say it straight up. I told him about my drug experiences. I told him about crazy things that I did before YouTube. I told him about things I even did, like, physical actions of things they would never have seen.
Man.
I love it.
I just let it out. It was so fun. So fun.
I just love talking to you about it because you're so you're so passionate.
It was like,
about
as soon as you started talking about that, you were like, okay, look, you can just, when you see that physiological or that the change in your posture and your voice,
just got this big Kool-Aid smile on. Like, you obviously love it. I mean, I think that's great. The other day we went to it was a friend's birthday, and we got the free tickets to the Stardome Comedy Club down here in Alabama, and we went, and I just sat there thinking, this is the best night ever. Like, it's so underrated. Why don't people go to comedy clubs more and do and do that
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I loved that. That was so much fun. I was like, I want to come back here for my birthday. And when I walked in, I had no idea who these people were. I never heard of them before. But I walked out buying the T-shirt. You know what I mean? Because it was just so funny. And it was a great experience. I love that you're like getting into that. I think that you should totally do it. Yeah.
So I wanted to touch on what you mentioned earlier, Unfiltered, demonetized, and we got a lot of stuff there to talk about, and then like how you got into the route you're going now, or the path you're going. So we've actually talked about it in depth a couple times in the past through text messaging and stuff about the whole algorithm and YouTube. And I was listening to another podcast recently, and they were talking about how, back in the day, MySpace, the only thing you really had as far as influential, what is the word I'm looking for? The way influence, I guess, I don't know, was the top 8. Yeah, you had like the top 8, and so there was no real algorithm. It's like, oh no, I'm not in their top 8. Okay, well let me just keep scrolling. But now I think the algorithm is hurting the world. Obvious. I mean, the way we see things and the way we have to be picture perfect and the way we can't say what we want to say, or else the algorithm shuts you down.
Because people love the real stuff. That's what I like to watch.
They do, and that's what got us
raw ass shit.
That's what got us connected in the beginning, but to his to your job, essentially, I mean, it's taken a toll. You've had to diversify. Kind of like what we're doing with the podcast here. So
well, SMP Films, the reason that I had to step away from that was because of the algorithm. The algorithm, here's what happened. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about demonetization. What happened was the algorithm had changed and basically preferred longer videos that were 10 minutes long or whatever. They were definitely leaning on vlogs and content like that at that point in time. But SMP Films, the short films that I made, man, I would spend a lot of money and a lot of time, and I only put one out like every week and a half, but they were only like 4 minutes long, whatever, and so the algorithm's like, well, he's not putting out enough and he's not putting out long enough. So we're not going to push him out in the search results, and we're not going to send him to subscription boxes. It wasn't a glitch. Everybody always said the subscription box thing was a glitch. It wasn't a glitch. What it is everybody else is trying to keep up with the algorithm by posting more and doing it, longer. And so if you were showing up on the most recent post, then you were just being pushed down by everybody else. And so I couldn't survive. And I was like, well, I'm going to have to make this stuff faster. But if you do it faster, then it takes away what SMP Films was all about, and that was taking the time and telling the story the right way instead of the fast way. And so my passion for it began to fade because I was like, I can't do it. And people are like, well, you're doing this, you're just doing this for money. You're angry about money. It's like, well, here's the thing. I'm not angry, but it is about money, because if I want to continue to do this, then I need to actually be able to spend the time to do that. And to spend the time to do that and keep a roof over my head, I've got to make money. But it was never about I wanted to be rich. It's that I wanted to continue to do this hobby that just so happens to be pretty darn expensive to do. So, and that's where I think a lot of people, a lot of viewers sort of forget. It's that, they're not paying for it. They're watching.
Right.
But we have to somehow get paid, and that means that we have to play by the rules of the algorithm, unfortunately, unless we do sponsored videos, which saved me every time I did a sponsored video. So I worked hard to try to get those sponsored videos back in there.
And then on top of it, it's like peeling the onion back. I mean, you're going through all this depression and stuff underneath that you're not even talking about. And so it's just like bam, 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 bam. I mean, it's just like the weight of the world's on your shoulders.
Yeah.
I think that with anything, like when you were saying that, it's like you're making your hobby into your job, right? And I think with any hobby, whenever I've done that, like I remember when we were divers and we were younger and we were diving and we loved it and it was our summer and that's what we wanted to do all the time.
Yeah.
And then we get to high school and it's like, okay, now you're on the dive team and you have 2-a-days and you got to go before school every day, after school every day, and it became a job, and it was like our passion for it left. So then here I am skipping practices or sneaking out early. You know what I mean? It's not something, because it's like I resented it, and because I had to, I had to be there and do it or whatever. So it's very, it's a give take, it seems like, but But yeah, I think the key, like you said earlier, is to find something that you're passionate about and continue to be passionate about it. And if you can get paid while doing it, then hoorah, you know?
Right. But that's also like I said earlier that like I judge people depending on where they know me. Well, I have diversified. So if one area becomes a struggle, I move to the next. I'll create another space for myself to do it with my knowledge of the algorithm and with my creative ability. I push and roll with it. So I've got a vlogging channel, Live Each Day, which used to be Dude Like Hella.
Yeah.
I've got SMP Films, which was my short film, Simple Minded People. The Mean Kitty, which I only did because people love the cats and the videos. Yeah. I've been straightforward about it. Like, I didn't love making those videos, but I enjoyed it while I was making them. And I did those for people and for all that stuff. And then now there's Mr. Safety. Mr. Safety was my whatever channel where I literally posted whatever I wanted. I didn't care what anybody thought. And then now there's actually the channel that I am literally the most passionate about. I've never been so passionate about a channel in my life, Just for Kids. I do this, first of all, for my family, my 2 children, and for my nephew in California. And for myself, because I just enjoy this very much. But then the world enjoys it. So now, like, I've actually had more success out of this channel than I've ever seen out of anything I've ever done. And I feel the best about it, which is also why it's so different, because I want to do the stand-up comedy. It's kind of, you can be a little raunchy sometimes, but at the same time, I'm a children's superhero. And my son, who is 1 year old, is now starting to say Captain Venture. And it just melts my heart. I'm like, pick a path, Corey. Which way are you gonna go this time?
It's like the world is your oyster.
Yeah, you can't be in your Captain Corey.
I need to get our kids watching the Just for Kids channel. I forgot about that.
Do it. I have a question about the Just for Kids in relation to YouTube.
Just
and what's
what happened,
going on.
yeah.
I mean, are you? I know it's your passion project, so it's like whatever. But at the same time, like you said, you got to get paid, you got to make money, and now they're saying they're demonetizing kids channels, right? Kind of what's going on.
So here's what I understand from it. I'm not 100% clear on it, but this is what I understand. Probably January 1st, they're going to push all kids content back over to the YouTube Kids app, which I am not on, and nobody is getting paid to be on. If you're on that app and you're getting views, you literally get nothing.
Really?
There's no money there because there's no ads. But then, on YouTube, there are ads all over the place, but they were targeted towards children because the algorithm would know that children were watching. So as far as I know, the children are still going to be seeing ads, possibly, or maybe they'll demonetize or limit ads. I'm not sure, but there'll be some form of something. But my thought here is it's not about the ads as much as it is about being able to do this and to continue doing this. So I'm going to actively try to find a way to be able to afford this, because now these videos are more expensive than anything I've ever made. Every video is at least $1,700 to make per video, because
really?
Yeah, I have to hire an animator. I have to go through and pay for all the materials that I'm using and the music, everything about these videos. They're not cheap. No. I mean, sometimes I'll regurgitate stuff, not like reuse, but like tell stories with assets that I have, like a toy. I've got this toy that I've already photographed and green screened, and let's see if I can change it up in this way. But at the same time, the algorithm, I'm still upset with the algorithm because, like, I have to make these Peppa Pig videos, which, okay, I will tell everybody right now, this channel, this is not one of those weird channels that, people put out there to try to lure kids in. It's real, honest to God, educational, creative, fun stuff, safe for families to watch, that I recommend for you, everyone.
Nice.
So doing these Peppa Pig videos, I'm basically taking the characters of Peppa Pig and telling new stories with them. But I am an official influencer of Peppa Pig, so I have the full basic rights to be able to do all of this
That's
stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I see that one all the time.
But see, I don't necessarily want to do that. I want to make my own stuff, but the algorithm wants that. So I'm only doing Peppa Pig right now because the algorithm demands it from me.
Right.
Okay.
They won't share anything else unless I do a little bit of Peppa Pig and then go back to doing my originals.
How often do you post over there on that?
I was doing one a week, but I kind of stopped because now I'm well, I'm kind of doing a couple things. I'm also working in VR, creating video games in VR and experiences and coding, and I'm kind of a jack of all trades. I can literally do just about anything creatively.
I was gonna say, dang, you can code too and do all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've posted about that on Instagram. Maybe,
I have not.
Maybe I didn't want to bring it up if you weren't going to bring it up, but that was very. I saw on Facebook. You posted about it, and I was intrigued, but I didn't want to pry.
So by you're saying doing video games, what does that mean? Like you're gonna make the video game?
I'm already doing it. Yeah, I've created some games that, like one right now. What I'm doing is I'm testing different ideas. VR is the Wild West right now. I mean, there's not a whole lot of people making games. There are some really good games out there, but the systems are too expensive. The hardware is changing at such a pace that people just can't keep up. And nobody's really stepped into the real hardcore masks yet. So my thought is get ahead of this because it is going to go somewhere. Look at PlayStation VR. You can barely find those things on shelves at any point in time. They're always going. And still the stuff is limited. You think about it like this. When Toy Story came out, the original Toy Story, it was the first animated feature film, I believe, to come out, and it killed it, right? Absolutely killed it. Disney was just like, no, this is not going to do so well. The guy's name that directed that, he used to work at Disney, and I believe they fired him. Wow. And now he's pretty much running Disney, as far as I know. Like every good Disney, John Lasseter. So I'm kind of looking at it like this. I'm taking inspiration from John Lasseter and taking my ideas and my SMP Films creativeness and throwing it into the world of VR before the world of VR takes off, just like YouTube did, just like animated films did. Smart. So get ahead of the curve and enjoy it before it really takes off. So again, it's just spreading out my outlets and things that I can do, because let's face it, if YouTube does go down for me, it's not going to go down for everybody. But if it doesn't work for me, and if I can't find a way to get Just for Kids funding, I better go somewhere. And I better go somewhere that my heart is happy. Because if I'm not happy in my heart, then I'm not going to do good.
Right. Yeah, it's not going to be good results.
I love VR.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
I think you said it better than the word I think the word passion gets tossed around loosely a lot in the world in general, but like finding the happiness in your heart, which I guess is passion, but like we're always saying, find something you're passionate about, but
it's got to make you happy, though.
Seeing the physical adjustment, and when you talk about the VR or the stand-up comedy, that's what you're looking for, is that sting in your heart that makes a difference in your brain.
Now, just with the kids thing, like with your kids show, I think that when you say, I need funding because this is one of the most expensive things I'm doing, I automatically think, well, why don't you do brand deals? Why don't you do things like that, where a lot of these things are targeted to kids anyway? I mean, there's tons of like child toys and stuff like that they want brand deals for. So is that something you're thinking about doing?
It's very difficult in the kids space because, so I started really, I started doing this really professionally hardcore in December. And since December, I've had 120 million views. Wow. And that's when I started the channel. So how do you approach a branded deal and say, hey, so I make my videos get anywhere between 500,000 views to 15, 16 million. First of all, what do you price that?
Yeah.
And even if you go low, the price of branded deals sometimes can be kind of astronomical for those companies. And so like companies just don't know. And for me, like I have a hard time because I'm just passionate about it.
Yeah.
I let my wife do all that stuff because I don't like to look at numbers.
Yes.
All I like to know is that I'm able to continue. Mm-hmm. That we have enough money that me and my family can do the things that we want to support the lifestyle that we want to have, and so that we have a bit of future proofing in case something terribly goes wrong. So that's all I care about. So we're trying to work that out and how that's going to be, but I just let the wife handle that. I'm creative. If I think about money, it'll just break my brain.
That's the smartest thing you said this whole
time.
Right.
let the wife handle it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think that's another big aspect to the whole dynamic and everything is the way you you process what you're doing and the way you think about everything, because that was relatable again. Is we did daily videos, jumped straight into them, did them for like 5 years, something like that, every single day, and then started getting these brand deals and this money coming in, and just was like, okay, here's another check, okay, and then at the end of the year, it's time to do taxes, and we got in touch with the company, and they're like, what are you doing? You need to set up an LLC, you need to do that. And for the whole year and a half, 2 years, it took my brain a long time to get out of the fact that this was a hobby and now it's a business.
Right.
And because I was still just having fun with it. And then once you switch that in your head, like, oh, this is what we're doing to support and have a roof over our head, and it kind of it takes away from the
puts pressure
quote unquote
on you.
passion of it, and yeah, it gives the pressure and the fakeness that you see and the characters that you create. I don't know.
I think maybe you found like the key to it though. You just got to keep moving, right? You just got to like take that and move your outlet. You know what I mean?
But see, this came from. This is where I was blessed in this. I had to go the long, hard road to get to this so that I could appreciate it at a speed that made sense to my brain and my being. Yeah. So, I mean, think about it. Like, I was doing YouTube videos before there was money. I was doing MySpace before there was money. I was still working a regular job. But even when money came, it came slow. Mm-hmm. It didn't come fast. It didn't come big. Nowadays, creators, you can go from starting a vlog in a year to being really successful the next year and making lots of money. Like, how do you go from brand new to making money? That did not happen back then. So I slowly got used to this and slowly made my way. And so I'm massaged in, and this is just life for me. And it doesn't mess with me or change my way. If I suddenly got $1 million to make a video, it wouldn't matter any more or less than a video I made $50 on. It would be the same thing. And and that's another reason my wife is awesome. I don't want to think every video is like that.
I have that same respect as far as that goes too, because that first video YouTube convention that I met you at, I was standing in the 2-hour lines to meet you, or I saw you actually walking through the courtyard. But Shay Carls and the big YouTubers back in the day, Philly D and all those, and which they're still big these days. But I was standing in those 2-hour fan meet and greet lines, and then fast forward 2 years later, we're actually holding a meet and greet, but the progression of being on one side of the curtain versus the other, and standing in the green room and getting all the free snacks and all the free merch and all this stuff, versus having to like camp out. Okay, where are they going to be now? Where are they going to be now? And just kind of, as opposed to just getting thrust up on stage for a meet and greet or a Q&A. And having 1 million subscribers and this, that, and the other, I just could not imagine where I would be mentally if I hadn't have had that, or if me and Katie hadn't have had that like gradual progression of change. That's so intriguing how you're able to just make yourself happy.
Now I gotta ask you. Okay, hang on. I gotta ask. You're an entrepreneur now, obviously. Like, you have your hand in all these different cookies. Like you said, jack of all trades. I love it. I think he's like the next face of VR, right?
Yeah,
I love it. And but before all this, okay, so what did you do? I saw something on your Instagram. You had posted like an old uniform. What were your jobs
the Blockbuster
before you were an entrepreneur and did all the videos?
So, little known fact, I actually went to school, and I was in the same class as Justin Roiland, the guy that created Rick and Morty. And it's funny. I was in that class with him, and we actually made a video a long time ago. And it was crazy because it's like, oh, yeah, that's that guy. But anyway, I ended up dropping out of college, out of university. I had scholarships to him. And I thought, what I want to do, nobody can teach me. And so I took all of these crazy jobs to teach me skills that would lead me in whatever the direction was that didn't exist yet. And so I was at one point a fireman in my life. I was a fireman for about 2 years, and that was to teach me the realness of life and how quickly life can change. And I mean, in one day I was, helping to deliver a child, and also, finding a man dead in his home out in the country. I've done a lot of really dark things that really just break your brain. I used to be I worked for Rent-A-Center. I used to be an account manager. So I did repo work and I did sales work. Now that helped me a lot with my confidence as far as like selling. Being a salesman is a part of being a professional entertainer. You have to be able to sell, and to be able to talk somebody out of something they have in their home to bring it back to a store is also another special skill, because you don't want to be like, hey, I'm the repo man and I'm here to take your stuff. It's like, no, you have to actually make them feel good about the decision to give up the furniture that they're paying rent for. And it hurt me though, because of course that's like lower income people who just can't afford things, and that's a tough business, man. And then also, Blockbuster, that was like my first normal job.
All the kids out there are like, what's the Blockbuster? What's that?
Blockbuster. Well, I only worked there because I wanted free game rentals.
There you go, back to the VR.
And then I worked at the movie theaters. I started off as a projectionist. I pushed my way into that. And I wanted to work in movie theaters because I wanted to study film. And I know it's not like actual film, but I wanted to watch the movies over and over again to study the ways shots happen and why did they do this and all of that sort of stuff. And so I would watch and study behind the glass. And just every single day. And then I would write my own stories while I was up in that quiet projection room, and then just be inspired by the things around me. And so that moved on. And I did a lot of different things. And eventually all of those skills, all of the things that I learned through all of that is what led me to this point. So
it was ingredients. Yeah, I love it. I mean, I can totally see you back there in the projector room with your notepad and pen, like, okay, and then he shot to the lower side of the angle, and then he shot to the guy's feet, and then
that's so intriguing, because now, like, especially editing your own videos, which I self-taught myself, didn't have any experience in any of this YouTube stuff before it all happened. Every time I watched a movie, Katie was talking about the connection and the dynamic with the characters, and I'm talking about the cuts and the zooms. I'm like, no, you should have. Did you see that cut? Did you see that zoom? Did you see that pan? Just because of my brain was thinking, like you were just talking about, like examining the whole aspect to it,
how it's made. I noticed your stuff. I mean, you definitely like to experiment a lot with different things. You get fancy. Sometimes I can tell through your cuts that you just enjoy it, and you're just like, blah, 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 blah. And sometimes it'll be a huge mess of like, whoa, look at all this crazy stuff you put in there. But sometimes that's what really keeps me too. Like, you're always trying things, always moving around, and I love that. And by a mess, I mean a great mess.
Yeah, totally.
Sometimes those messes are the most beautiful things that make vlogs, and so I appreciate when you make messes.
Oh, thank you.
I think you do great at, like, for me, like, I'm very simple minded. Like, you could show it to me, and I always tell Cullen, I'm like, what's the difference if I shoot it on my phone or if I shoot it with the camera? Like, what's the difference? Then you go back afterwards and you see, and especially now that I've been doing the vlogging and doing the edit, and I'm just like, how does you even see that? Like, how does your mind even go there? Because for me, before, I would never even see a cut or anything. I'd be like, what? This the guy walked into the room.
Well,
but Cullen's like, but the guy walked into the room and they showed it from this angle and then that angle and this angle, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, well, like Casey Neistat touched on this a little bit in his podcast with Philly D the other day about how probably I would say 70% of my the edits or the story or the video, that the final outcome happens in the edit itself. I'll be editing something, I'll be like, oh, that'd be cool if a cat flew across the screen right here. When I was filming that, I never thought of that, and it's just and that was kind of another downfall of hiring an editor for a year and a half, I think, or something. I was going to ask you if you've ever had any editors, because that's when I started really getting mentally impaired. Because I wasn't into it.
I had people come in and try, but every time they do it, I'm just like, nope. And it was just like one-off edits, and I'm just like, I can't do that, man. I'm like, here's the thing about editing though that I've kind of come to understand is, like, watch your eye movements. When you're moving your eyes, how often do you really move your eyes? Every single time you move your eyes is technically a cut, because there is a point in time between A and B in your movements that there is a lull in space, right? Now, the special effects that you put on are the things, your thoughts, the brainwaves that are going through that happen while you're looking at something. So really, every time you look at something, you are cutting and editing your own personal movie within your own brain. So if you can understand that when you go to edit, it helps you to make those cuts a little easier, a little better. And that's where, you're saying, like, how did you know where to cut there? Yeah. Well, think about your brain and how your brain would work in that situation, and that helps a lot to understand.
Yeah, I want to go edit a video now.
And then colors. Remember too, coloring is also a big thing. Like, think about colors. Colors, the emotions, the emotion, because you got what are you thinking about, but then you also have what are you feeling. So you have to make sure that what's here and what's here, sort of makes sense. But don't forget here, you've got to have the ears, you've got to have a good sound, and you've got to have music that matches to be able to bring that all together.
I was gonna say, cue music.
I spend the most time looking for the music to get the feel. I feel like, especially in a montage or whatever the case may be, if you don't have the right music, and especially with the skits and stuff you did, the music makes the feel of the video stand out more than anything. I think. I don't know. Like when you do the dramatic, you add the contrast, and it's like, whoa, okay, we got to focus right here on this, or you blur when you're waking up in the morning, like all those little effects, just to make it feel like you're there. That's what makes it so interesting,
though. And I can totally see after, just because, I think for anybody, they would never know out of the minute 29 second you put up, like how long that actually took you to film from this angle and that angle and this side with the music here and so now, like after doing it for like a little bit, and a very little bit, I'm saying like very little bit, I don't know how to do a lot, but to know how much time that little bit takes to look at somebody like you that really puts your everything into it, and you just wrap it up in this nice, neat little package for us to entertain us, and that's the best part about it, because that's the point, right? You just want to make everybody happy that's watching your things. And
well, I make myself happy, and then I hope everybody else likes it.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Because I literally, you probably do this too, Colin. Like, I'll edit a video and go, and I'll be like doing stuff all the time, and I don't care what anybody thinks. Like, I'll love it. I'll watch one clip over and over, and I put a lot of love into the work I put out. And honestly, like today, there was this video that I was editing that we shot like a week ago, and it was this like a long video. I ended up scrapping it just because I didn't feel it, and I'm like, I wish I could have shared that with the world, because we did a lot of cool things, but it just didn't feel, and so I'm not going to put it out. So I might try to reshoot stuff or whatever, but you have to be true to yourself too. You can't just like poop stuff out because you have it. I think a lot of people do that, and they
do.
Yeah, I do that.
But that's, there are times where I have like a couple days worth of footage or something, and there's no like context to it. It's just empty footage, and it's just like, okay, well, I'm not gonna even waste my time. You can kind of gather it. What you were feeling when you were going through that stuff, and it's not even worth putting out. But one of the things I really appreciate from you was I had a lot of people, but a majority of them, you actually sent me a video whenever I came out about my addiction stuff and my mental health stuff, and
I said that's your phone. That was
that's what I mean. Like you like sent me a like face to face. It was like a FaceTime, and it really meant a lot to me, and I appreciate that. But we kind of talked about that a little bit prior, just like how your brain changes over time, and then with the life, and you've got, how old are your kids? You got a 1-year-old and a
3-year-old.
And a 3-year-old.
Oh wow.
So you're right in the thick of it, like with the nonstop and trying to keep the roof over your head, and it's golly. Last night I was just like, okay, it's almost bedtime. Okay, it's almost bedtime. When it's bedtime, I can like actually, and now I'm getting to where I can make myself go to bed as opposed to just staying up till 2 a.m. checking Twitter and like trying to socialize like I used to, because I know what's more important, my health wise and physical self. And you talked about something in one of your recent videos I was watching, and I was just talking about this with Katie today when we're filming this is on a Monday, so this podcast will be up on Tuesday. If you're listening, it's 2 times Tuesday. Welcome. But on Tuesday, October 1st, there's 90 days until the end of the year, and you were talking about 90-day or 3 months of something when you were talking about your last days on YouTube.
Yeah, I wanted to go out with a bang. I wanted to do it really hard, and I wanted to do a body transformation in the last 90 days to push myself to just feel good and be better. And
so
all of
90 days starts today if you're listening.
And
Nice.
wait, is it really?
There's 90 days. No, I don't know if he's doing it, but I'm on board. I'm like, let's go. Like, I want to do, because there's a couple that I was listening to, and their take on it is, why start the New Year's resolution on New Year's when you can start 90 days prior and already imagine how much more successful you'll be.
Right,
if
when you're already there.
Take the last 3 months of the year and make them like it's your New Year's resolution.
Okay.
And push yourself physically, mentally, work-wise.
Okay, so are you doing this, Corey? Are you about to do this 90-day thing?
I've been in it, actually. I started a little while back, but the last 2 weeks, actually, I fell off the wagon, only because with everything that's happened with YouTube and the algorithm and just trying to understand where it is that I'm going, and some really big advancements in this VR thing that I'm doing. This week I'm actually getting back on it for sure. But yeah, it's unfortunate. I've never fell off the wagon with getting myself into this, but I've already lost. I was 218 pounds and I'm currently 201 pounds. So that's just leaning out real heavy.
Okay.
So
What's your
I'm
goal?
still doing it. My goal is to stay at about 200, but to be super lean.
Okay.
Really, that's all it is. But it's not just that; it's mental too. So like I've been doing a lot of work on myself mentally. I've got a lot of things happening even outside YouTube that are just really like, life is great, but I also have some hard times. Like this, YouTube doesn't know this. I'm currently helping a friend who is on her final days.
Oh man!
One of my best childhood friends she has cancer, and I had a call with her yesterday, and she's saying, "No, Corey, I'm not going to make it. This is it. This might be my goodbye. I don't want this to be my goodbye. I've got maybe a little bit longer." But she is fairly sure that she's going to be gone before the end of the year. And so I have to go to California to do some things with her, not just to say goodbye, but to just enjoy those last times with her.
Right.
To make things worse with her, her daughter has cancer too.
Whoa.
And her daughter is 14 years old.
Golly.
And so she's, both of them are going through a lot. So I kind of went off a little bit deep there, but
That's
the things that I'm saying is I'm doing the best that I can be, not just physically, but mentally, trying to fix a lot of the problems that I realize that I have, that I've been fighting for so many years, and problems with myself. Like, let's be straight honest here, okay? You guys too, no filter in this. How many times in a day do you maybe slightly over exaggerate something you've said? How many times in a day do you not pick up that thing that you've walked by so many different times just because you think maybe somebody else will pick it up? How many times in a day do you maybe not take care of yourself in one little way? Maybe you didn't floss. Maybe you haven't been flossing enough. Maybe you're not spending enough time reading to your children. You want to be that dad. You want to be that guy that's always there every single night reading a great story and playing. But are you? These are all those little tiny things that I'm looking at. I'm like, my friend is going to die. She is going to be gone, and she is the same age as I am, and she's got a daughter. And if I'm going to sit here and have my problems while my friend doesn't have time to fix hers, what am I doing with my life?
Right.
So I'm trying my best to be the better man that I can possibly be for myself, for my children, and for the fact that I am still alive and I am not dying right now. And maybe I could die tomorrow. But that's the way life is. And if we continue this, really, if we just let ourselves be just this every single day, we're not bettering ourselves. What are we doing?
Right.
Yeah.
It sure puts it in perspective, doesn't it?
Right. So we have to do this stuff.
Yeah.
We have to grow.
Yes. Oh man, that's deep. Because I was feeling this just this past week, and not really. It's been a lot longer than that. But as far as the being the dad and everything, just what you're molding your. I mean, I don't know, just how you take care of your kids and show them empathy and intimacy and love and respect, and versus just being their dad and telling them what to do. And there's a lot deeper layer there versus saying don't do this, don't do that, and letting them hurt themselves, or taking the time to read the extra book and show them the love. And me and Katie have been really diving deep into that psychological aspect of the mental change and shift that we need to do, because it's crazy just how telling your kid to calm down can affect them versus telling them to have self-control. I mean, the way you word things is they don't know what calm down means. They're
here's
3-year-old.
Yeah, to that point, like the other day, my daughter lost control. She was throwing a fit, like just could not control it. What was happening? I have no idea. I think I picked up a blanket I wasn't supposed to, because it had something and somebody was cold and she just lost. Yeah, but it's not even that. It's that sometimes they're 3. And sometimes they can't control their emotions and they go, and in our adult minds we're like, stop being illogical.
Yes.
And just look, this isn't a big deal. Why are you screaming? And meanwhile you've got another one who's trying to sleep. So I took a moment and I told myself, no, Corey, this is what you're working hard for right now. This is the part of you that you need to be better at. Stop what you're doing. This is about her right now. So I walked up to my daughter, I grabbed her and I hugged her, and she didn't want it. No.
Yeah.
She just stops and breaks down, and I hold her for 5 minutes, literally 5 minutes. My son is totally happy just sitting there. And then she goes, I love you, Daddy.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry. I don't know why I was doing that. It was an accident. And she kept telling me it was an accident. So sometimes it's like we just need to break our brains, slow down. And we are so adult, you know?
Yeah, we're in a total different world. And the other day, Gaines was upset about something in the car, and Katie, it was just like, you keep just getting to this routine or this repetition of just like, calm down, what's wrong, and then Katie stopped and she said, it seems like you're upset, is there anything I can do to help? And Gaines stopped crying. It's like just that validation of, oh, you understand, you hear me. Just that, like, oh, she does know that I'm upset, and the way you word it and the way you actually show the empathy and give their feelings a voice is, I mean, it's it's so hard because in the moment you're just like,
stop doing that.
What is going on?
Why are you
like,
doing this?
What is wrong with you?
It's crazy. So yeah, we're doing a lot of that behind the scenes too, and we've kind of talked about it on some of the live streams. But golly, we're in a weird spot in life, and you've got a little one right now. I'm watching on the monitor in her crib, and I'm just thinking about.
Yeah, I'm just waiting. Like, she's only 7 months old, and I'm like, what are you thinking? Why would you turn your car and go that way when obviously your toy's over there? You know, and I'm just like, wait, she doesn't know. She's a little baby. You got to teach them these things. But Cullen, I'm excited about. I really want you, regardless if Corey does it or not. I want you to do your 90-day challenge.
I'm getting up at 5 a.m, and if you're listening to this, I've been to the gym, and
he's saying it into the world, right? He's speaking it on air right now.
I'm changing my last 90 days, and that's why I was like, when I heard Corey talking about 90 days, 3 months, or whatever, I was like, I'm gonna, because you need that community, that circle, the accountability, and the anybody out there that wants to tackle these last 90 days. I'll leave it's Rachel and Dave Hollis. I don't know if you've heard of them. Katie's got me on them.
Wait, back up. You guys are doing the Hollis thing too?
Yeah, that's what the 90 days is.
My wife is all about this. Yeah, we're gonna go to that she's having a thing in somewhere coming up soon. And
there's one in North Carolina that Katie wants to go to.
That's where we're going.
Are you going to that?
Going to that. In fact, Kristen, my wife, just started this whole 90-day journal thing. Even.
That's what it is. Yeah,
that's what she's doing.
I got here about 15 minutes early and realized I didn't have a webcam, but I was finishing up listening to his Facebook Live talking about the 90 days, and then I was thinking about how you had said that. I was like, I'm gonna mention this to Corey on the.
Y'all probably see each other down there, huh?
That's crazy. It's in December.
My wife's doing it. November.
November.
Okay,
yeah.
I know that we're getting kind of close to the end, but I did want to ask you this question because I am really intrigued by the fact that you did Naked and Afraid. Okay, so I'm going to circle back around to that. What happened? Did you win? Like, what?
That's always the first question. Did you make it? The simple answer is no.
You made it longer than your partner, though.
I made it longer than my partner. Like, I'm not a survivalist. I mean, I walked out there. I was very studied up. I had a lot of things going for me that I knew I was going to do well. But then they stuck me in a place in Belize that really looked like Southeast Asia. And because there was some vegetation that was growing around there, bamboo, that was literally about that big around. And I didn't have the ability to really cut it in the way that I needed to. I'm not making excuses, but I'm just saying, like, I didn't make it out there because I'm not really, no. I'm not. I just wasn't. I wasn't prepared, but I was cut out.
I'm always so intrigued too. I don't want to get off too far on a tangent, but who cares? If you got time, we got a little bit of time. But I'm always like, okay, but there's a camera guy like right there, and there's a So where are they?
Yeah, I wanna
versus
know
like where are
details.
you in relation
What's
to them?
really going on?
Are they like
you really
okay?
naked and afraid? Are you fine?
Yes, I was buck naked. I mean, everything I did. But I don't care. Like, I actually have a history of being totally fine with that. That was for my comedy set. We won't go into that. This is also
you gotta go pay and see that show. Yeah.
But no, I mean, they get real personal with you. I'm just saying, there's not a whole lot of times that you have by yourself, except for when you're on your own doing your business. Okay. That's the only time they leave you alone.
Okay.
So sometimes, like, if you just need a moment, you're like, hey, I gotta do my thing, and then you just go. And then you don't do your thing. You just sit there for a minute.
Right, yeah, just to get away.
Come back. But what else is hard about that show that no one really tells you is that you do have a camera crew around you, like, a lot. They're there from the moment the sun comes up to the moment the sun is about to go down. And then the rest of the time you're by yourself. But when those people are around, the animals aren't there. They go away because they smell people.
Uh-huh.
Like, the animals aren't going to come to you when there's a camera crew and equipment, and no. So it's really hard to hunt out there. And when anybody catches anything, it's just like, wow, that's fantastic. Like, you have to trap, or you have to do it on your own. And a lot of those people, they bring the cameras on their own and then go hunt. So, where they put me, it was just a really tough place. But you know what? I am proud of myself.
I'm proud of you, yeah.
Because I was out there for 11 days. I lost 28 pounds.
Jeez.
And it was literally the coldest time in Belize that they had seen in the last 10 years.
Wow.
It was 52 degrees at night in extreme humidity. Rained every single night. It was windy. And then we had bugs that came out. There was a mass hatching. And what they did was they burrow into your skin and they lay eggs indiscriminately to every single part of your body, including your eyelids. And
I remember the girl you were with was eating up bad before.
But did you know her before?
Out. No, she's an Instagram model.
Anastasia.
Yeah, Anastasia.
Well, she's actually a pro surfer. Anastasia Ashley. She was a pro surfer, and a bunch of things. She was awesome. I thought she was great. She'd actually never really been camping before this.
Oh my gosh.
So it was. Yeah, so it was that fresh, But this was an influencer episode where they basically had people to come in and share how real this stuff was.
Okay, and it was real.
That's what I was. It was real. I said I wasn't expecting anything to be fake or whatever, but I said, look, I'm just going to say right now, you give it to me for real. I don't want any weird setup stuff. I don't know if you do it, but I don't want to see it. And nothing happened. So it was everything that you saw out there and everything that you heard was really what happened.
You get 2 items, or what were items did y'all choose?
So we actually get to bring 5 items, but then the show chooses one for you that you brought. And so my item that I brought was a huge machete. And because I was in Belize, I was expecting to cut out those palm fronds and do all that stuff so I could build shelter and make bed. Unfortunately, it was like 2 miles away, all that stuff that I needed. So my machete was like, well, this sucks. But I still managed to walk all that way, chop that stuff, and bring it all the way back.
I remember you vlogged some of this, like walking on the gravel barefoot prior to the show to get your callus built up, and like any training involved and.
Yeah. Okay. So I was in Alaska at the time, training for Belize. Very different. It was winter. So like I couldn't actually go outside and cut anything or build anything because everything was frozen solid, literally. It was like 4 degrees outside, and so even my cardio, like I had to climb mountains in 4-degree weather just to get my cardio going. Really, I mean, I could have went to the gym, but it's different when you're actually mountain climbing and doing that stuff. So inside the house, because I couldn't go walk around outside barefooted, I had to bring planters in with really sharp rocks, the sharpest rocks I could find, and I just just stomped in them and stomped in them and
Oh
stomped
my
in them,
gosh.
and watched every single Naked and Afraid episode prior to mine. I was stomping in rocks, watching every single one, and that's how long I stomped in rocks until I had thick calluses on my feet.
That's
What would you have
crazy.
won if you had made it? Like, or if you, well, do they win any? Do you win anything? I'm not
You
sure.
don't. It's not that you win anything. More than anything, when people make it through, they just get the right to say, "I made it all the way." For me, that wasn't important. For me, it was, I want to do the best all the way, whatever that all the way is, because a lot of people have what is it called when you go through it and you just weren't proud of yourself, and they're always like, "Oh, I should have done better." I didn't want that.
Yeah.
I wanted to do my best the first time. So yeah, no, you don't necessarily win anything, but also because I was an influencer, and I was originally supposed to do Deadliest Catch, I was paid up front from this is what I was supposed to get, and that's all there was, no matter how long it went. So
Okay.
Oh wow.
I wasn't.
You could have tapped out on
about
day
it.
2 and been like, okay, see y'all.
I could have. No, yeah, but I was like, no, I'm going to go as far as I could. And until the very last day, I actually, here's the honest reason why I left. My body was really starting to shut down. I had already lost the 28 pounds on day 11, and I was uncontrollably letting stuff go out of my body that should not have happened. And so I'd gotten sick from the previous day because I ate a wild cucumber, because I needed something in my body, because I knew that I had to build a raft to be able to go down the river. But my machete was already dull as well. And so I was like, I'm not going to have the strength to chop any harder to do anything else, because there were no rocks to actually sharpen my machete with either. And so everything, I looked at all that and I said, you know what? I would much rather go home to my family safe than go home and spend a week in a hospital, because that's how it would have been had I have stayed. And sure enough, a giant storm came through, which was really, really bad. And I would have been.
worse.
I remember thinking in the timeline of the events, like, you had a pretty new baby or younger. I was like, how is he away from his family this long? Like, that was hurt. That was hurting me. Like,
Yeah, I was. My daughter took. She crawled for the first time while I was gone.
that's what it was. Yeah.
My wife turned 30 while I was gone.
Oh my gosh.
So I had those two things, and it killed me. And then this is my first child, So I was emotionally torn up because I'm missing this time with my daughter and missing that time with my wife. But I still managed to find a coconut and make a birthday cake for my wife.
Oh.
What's the first thing you ate when you got home?
Well, the first thing I ate when I got off was a banana. I craved a banana.
Okay, but you were so hungry, just
Anything.
No, it's weird. When you're out there, after about 5 days, hunger goes away. You're not hungry anymore. But also for the first 5 days, I did not sleep. Like, literally, I went through those days with no sleep, and it's you really truly lose your mind.
Oof.
And as soon as Anastasia was gone, I moved my shelter to a different position, and I slept for like 10 hours.
Wow.
And it was like my body couldn't do it anymore, and I woke up going, wow, this is amazing.
Right? This is different.
So I know.
What was the conversation? We're getting on a Naked and Afraid tangent here. I'm just so intrigued now.
Good.
What was the conversation like with you and Krista? Like, you're going to sleep naked with another girl? Like, that, it's got to be tough.
It wasn't bad. Okay, so Kristen, like, she's really the one that made me feel comfortable. She says, you do what you got to do, and whatever. And I told her, I said, look, I'm not going to cuddle up with her in an inappropriate way.
Right.
I'm going to be very resourceful. And what we did, we slept back to back. So we slept next to each other because it's, you have to, you've got to keep body heat. It's so important. And it's cold. So we would either sleep face to face, and we would hold our arms like this, holding each other. I'd put my head on one side, she'd put her head on the other side, and we'd breathe down so that the warmth of our air as well could keep all that. So that's how we did that. Or we'd be back to back so that when we started getting cold in the back, that would work. But she slept, man. I don't know how Anastasia did it, but like every night she slept. But also, I think I took the side of the shelter that had the wind coming in, so I was probably the perfect wind blocker for her. So I took the wind and the rain, and I was just shivering all night. Oh, it was awful.
Great. I mean, is there like a medical team there too, ready or?
There is an emergency crew that comes out only if needed. Like, you have to call. Like, they'll leave a radio somewhere nearby as for an emergency, because look, you're out there on your own. You could get killed. You could who knows, man. You're really vulnerable
Step
out
on
there.
A snake.
This is real.
This is real life stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, if something was to happen, they would come out. You know, thankfully we didn't really need them to come out or do any of that stuff. So, yeah, I'm really grateful for that. But yeah, I mean, the worst thing though is the bugs. I mean,
yeah, you're
really,
braver than me. I'd have been running to that phone the second a bug landed on me. I'd have been like, emergency, get me out of here. No
Talk
way.
about mental strength, though. I mean, you got to be mentally strong right there.
That's awesome.
Crazy.
You know, it's. Yeah, and but I will say this, and I said this at my comedy show the other night. I came home with some severe PTSD, and every now and then I still have it. If I smell smoke and I feel something in the weather that feels like Belize, it kind of comes up. But I have to say to all of the service members out there, anybody who's watching or listening, that I have a greater respect, even more so, for those of you out there who were, you know, in war and actually going through real hard times. Because when they come home with that PTSD, it is no joke. And I didn't go out to war. I was in a jungle naked with another woman. You know,
yeah.
That's not exactly the same thing.
That sounds great.
I have
to the
such
veterans.
greater respect for those people and the sacrifice that they gave for us and our country. And I just thank you to all service members who.
Definitely, we've had some vets on too. Yeah, talking about
previous episodes.
Yeah, I know. Well, okay. Before we end, Colin, let me forget last time. I need to know, Corey, what is your best "Don't Tell Mom" story? You little rascal, what'd you do?
All right, my best "Don't Tell Mom" story. I think it would have to be the time I went down to the river and I got really, 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 really drunk. I mean, I was so drunk. We made our own wine. Because I lived in wine country in California. So we made our own wine, and I was so drunk. I was coming back home with my friend, and I peed in my friend's mailbox. Or not my friend, my neighbor's mailbox. I didn't like her. She was so mean. I feel terrible now. But I was really drunk.
There? Okay, because you didn't like her.
I was 14.
Came in the mail today.
Yeah.
I was 14. And then to try to mask the smell of stuff on my breath, I went into the almond orchards that were nearby, and I stuck my face in a sprinkler, and I just let it go. And then we got in the house, and I had my friend go in first and say that he had to go to the bathroom and that I was outside doing something really quick. And he went in the bathroom, and he grabbed a thing of toothpaste. And then so he brought it back out for me, and I put the toothpaste in my mouth to get the alcohol smell out. And then I just started eating it, and then I vomited all the toothpaste out.
No.
And then when I came in the house, I was wet, covered in vomit. My mom probably didn't know, but later on I was like,
you look like a mess.
So you got away with it. She didn't even know, huh?
You know, it's either I got away with it or she just said, nah, look at him.
It's not even worth it.
Yeah, we're just going to pretend like this never happened.
Sorry, Mom.
Oh, you scoundrel. I love that.
That's hilarious.
That's a good one. Peeing in a mailbox. That's original. I've never heard that one before out of all the stories. Corey, your story is amazing. You're very inspirational. I love that you're doing a little bit of everything, and I can't wait to see what else you got coming for us. I mean, I'm going to tune in when you're in Madison Square Garden up there with the mic and doing your comedy sketch. You know?
Oh, gosh.
Man,
yes.
I don't know about that. I'd just rather write a book or something. That's what I'll do.
Go out and I'm going to buy
but who knows?
VR
We'll see.
We're going to do the VR games. We're going to do all of it. I can't wait to see what comes out of you, and I appreciate you coming on.
You mentioned some of the channels. Where can they find you? Your Instagram and any of that?
Okay, so YouTube, if you've got children between the ages of 2 to 6, safe place, a beautiful place for your children to learn and have fun is Just for Kids. And Instagram at SMP Films, Simple Minded People Films. And then on Facebook, We Live Each Day. That's our stuff. I give them the rest, but that's right now what I'm kind of doing.
The main
that's
stuff.
my active projects.
That's awesome.
Thank you so much, dude. I'm gonna keep in touch with you. We need to catch up more in depth.
Y'all might see each
for
other
sure.
in North Carolina.
I know, doing the Rachel Hollis thing, the 90-day thing.
I'll see you there.
Yeah, it's a
and
pleasure
thank you
to
so
meet
much
you.
for having me.
Yeah, dude.
Thank you so much
It
for
was
coming on.
pleasure.
Y'all go check them out. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure to tune in next week for another 2 Times Tuesday.
2 Times Tuesday.
And you can see the merch and everything. Just go look at the description. You'll see all the links.
Don't tell Mom.
See y'all next time.
Peace.